come on in, pull in that mental seat. Hopefully, you have a nice drink to relax with. This is our first Outbound After Dark. Now, before I get into the actual presentation, what we're going to talk about today, let me talk about how this concept came about. The pandemic hit last year. And so, like many of you, especially us in the speaking and training business, all of our business pretty much shut down. So one of the things I decided to do was something called Sales After Dark, which I did 3 live streams a week. And it's a great opportunity for me to just kind of do content, get down there, talk about sales every day, do a lot of interaction. So that was one way of actually engaging with the audience. And then about 2 months ago, Jeb Blount. If you've ever been around Jeb Blount, he's always got ideas just popping off everywhere, right? So Jeb Blount said, hey, Victor, hey, Victor, hey, Victor. He says, how about doing something called Outbound After Dark, a nice live stream, a kind of chilled mode, a conversation with salespeople just to kind of relax and talk. And I said, sure. Now, this started out as probably a 1 to 2 evening event, but knowing Jeb, you know how he rolls, it's now turned into a 5-night event. So this is 1 out of 5 nights we're going to do. So this is from my home studio. What I want to do is bring on a couple of guests, and we're just going to talk sales. And one of the things I want to do with this Outbound After Dark is, usually you see presenters, speakers on stage. And when they're on stage, obviously you get that presentation self. So I'm going to do my best to bring on folks and get their personal self, their authentic self. Not that they're not being authentic on stage, but kind of, dig into their life a little bit. Who are they? Who are the people behind sales and sales training? And so that's kind of the vibe for tonight. And so for tonight, I got a nice white wine. I got this beautiful, it's a French wine, like authentic. Look how bad that label is. That's when you know it's a good wine, when it has a horrible label. So again, the Depardieu Purée Sauvignon Blanc 2018 Bordeaux. And it's 2018. It's a beautiful wine. And by the way, in the background, you don't hear him right now. His name is Chris Stone. He's producing the show. Once in a while, I'll call in Chris Stone to help me out with the production. But let me know what you think of this Outbound After Dark as we go through it. And over to your right, if you're watching this on a computer or your TV, hit me up on the chat. Leave some comments, especially when you hear something interesting from the speakers, or maybe there's a question you want us to answer, and we'll do our best to get those to you. Now, shall we jump into this? Because I'm excited. So the first person I decided to bring on, this is the first guest on Outbound After Dark. I thought I'd bring on this wonderful, brilliant lady to share her insights. And again, we're going to talk about sales and just chill. But I'm going to bring in Meridith Elliot Powell. And there she is. There she is. What's happening, Meridith?
Cheers. I decided to go with a gin and tonic. I got downstairs and started to look at the wine and thought, it's a hot day here in Asheville, North Carolina. I should go with a gin and tonic.
I'm not making this up, Meridith. This has literally become my new favorite drink during the summer, gin and tonic. I think I like Hendrick's gin is what I like.
That's actually what I've got in here. And I'm with you. I don't drink them in the wintertime, but no. I just came in off the tennis court. My husband and I had a match this afternoon, and I thought, wow, that sounds really good. So that's my new summer drink.
So wait a minute, you and your husband had a match? Like you competed against each other, or you paired?
No, we competed with each other, which sometimes people call the divorce open. Because you're playing on the same.
I've never heard that. Okay.
Yeah, so we're playing in this mixed league, and we're playing on the same team, and so it's it can be a bit contentious, but today was a good day because we won.
No, that's asking for trouble right there. That's really asking for trouble. Joke. Hey, Meridith, a little background, like, something personal, not about your professional life. We know you're a great sales trader, motivator, leader. We got all that already. And I know you got a new book. We'll talk about that maybe later. But, a little bit about you, family, a little bit of just Meridith.
Yeah, well, right now you are in my office in Asheville, North Carolina. I am so honored to be the first one on here. I wanted to go first because I got to catch a flight to Dallas tonight. But I have lived in and around Asheville, for over 25 years. I love it here. I love the lifestyle. I'm a big outdoorsy girl. Anything outdoors I do. I'm mediocre at all of it, but I love to be on my mountain bike. I love to be hiking, playing golf, playing tennis. Anything that takes me outdoors. I am the youngest of 4 kids, the baby in the family, and I've been married, 20 years. No kids of my own, but I married a guy with great kids, so we got a big family. everybody lives here
I love it.
in Asheville and right around
By,
us.
by the way, youngest also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. A lot in common. Were you spoiled, by the way? Were you spoiled as a
Yeah,
child?
yeah. Just a little.
Yeah, I was a little spoiled. By the way, you mentioned like, you mentioned a bunch of things like biking, hiking. I mean, what gets you interested in these sports? I mean, and how does it complement like, what you do?
Yeah, it's funny. I think it becomes from the fact that my parents, because there were four of us, they kind of decided everybody would be good at something, so they didn't want us to compete with one another. So my oldest brother was the strong one. My next brother behind him was the smart one. My sister was the kind and supportive one, and they were out of things. They decided that I was the athlete. Right. And then I think coming as the youngest in the family, if they could get me to do things, then it was freedom. Like my mother didn't want to stay at the pool and watch me. She wanted to throw me in and go to the golf course. The moment that I could get on a bike, then the family could go do things. So I grew up not thinking I was very strong, I was very smart, or I was very kind, but I always believed I was good at athletics. Now, the irony of that is what I love about it, how it attaches to sales is I believed I had to try. I mean, it was always like, good try, Meridith. You're getting good at that. And I was never labeled as smart. So I wasn't afraid to fail. And I really think that's been one of the two things that my parents instilled in me that really made me successful. I'm fine with falling flat on my face. I'll just get up, dust myself off, and go again.
I think there's something I'm trying to remember the guy's name in Shark Tank, the mean guy. Do you remember the mean guy?
I
The mean
know
guy's
you
name.
mean.
Hey, Chris, do you know what the mean guy's name is? What's his name? He's a
I
real
thought they
mean guy.
were all nice, actually. I don't
Okay.
No,
know.
no, 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 no. There's one
Yeah,
that's really kind
yeah.
of mean
Apparently,
in
Chris
Shark
doesn't know what
Tank.
he's talking about at this point.
Yeah.
But he said something very interesting. He was, and I want to get your take on this. And I'm not making this up. He actually said this. He said he'd rather work with women, business owners, and entrepreneurs. But he was very specific as to why. They call him Mr. Angry, Mr. Hate. Hey,
Mr.
Chris,
Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. That's right. 'Cause it's
Yes,
ironic because he's not, right?
because
But
he's
he's right.
not.
Yeah. And so he said something really interesting. I'd love to get your take on it. And I'm butchering what he said, but I got the essence of it down. He says, when I work with male CEOs, owners of companies, as far as investing in them, he said, their tendency is to exaggerate or stretch their goals, like make them unrealistic, and they typically fall short, which is what
Mhm.
happens to all of us, right?
Right.
He said the interesting thing is that the women almost like detach their ego from their actual goals and they set more realistic goals. And what was interesting is that they hit their number more often, right? They hit their number more often, and that their retention rate was higher because people were satisfied working for a boss who set realistic goals and had a certain cadence. You know, I'm just going to leave that as an open statement. What would you add to that? Agree, disagree?
I think that I would agree to it.
Hmm.
However, I want to add to it. And what I want to add to it is that I used to, years ago, I was a banker and I used to bank this attorney in town. He had the biggest practice in our community and he would only hire women. And the reason he would only hire women is he said, I want people around me that have to try harder.
Yeah.
And he said, I really believe that when I get into male oriented professions,
Mhm.
women have to try harder. And I want that. So I would agree. But here's the problem. Being a woman who came up in a man's world, I would set my goals a little bit shorter. I would want everybody to achieve the goals and everybody to win. But thank God I got thrown into a male dominated industry because men pushed me. Men made me aggressive. Men made me say, I need to push my goal higher. I can do this.
Mhm.
And so I think I've always said, and I say to all of my clients, there is a beautiful combination when you diversify your leadership team.
Mhm.
See, women want everybody to win. So they're awesome at building teams, at getting
Mhm.
people to work together and breaking silos. And men just want to go to the finish line and they'll step right over you to get there. And the blend of those two things makes a really healthy team. I'm just so grateful I worked with men early in my career because I taught them some of the skills that I brought to the table, and they taught me the skills that I brought to the table, that they brought to the table that I needed to incorporate.
It's funny because early on, I was a product manager of within a company. I was a software product manager, And as product managers, we would travel with salespeople, that four-legged call, we call
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
four-legged call.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite salespeople, not joking, was a woman by the name of Linda Sweet. And so out of Bonita, California, can't make that up. And she was probably the first woman I met who was like, now that is what a sales, and by the way, it's not saleswoman, a salesperson who happens
Person.
to be a woman, looks like. Because she was a very strong woman, but
Mhm.
she still had that feminine touch. She could punch you, then rub your butt and make you feel better. You know what I mean? If you got out
Yes,
wide,
exactly.
she'd punch you, then she'd make you rub your butt, make you feel better. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because she was the first role model. You know how sometimes we have to have that image in our head, because once
Sure.
we see that role model, we can try to mimic or imitate or emulate that person. And she was the first person that, and I still to this day consider her the archetypical salesperson who happens to be a woman, because
Yeah.
she's just like you. She was very athletic also. Her golf game was phenomenal. I mean, and her wittiness, her quick-wittedness was great, but her product knowledge, I think that's where I saw what you just pointed out. I saw her try harder,
Yeah.
and she was like really reading the stuff, reading the content, and she knew her material. Customers loved her.
Yeah.
Did you have, male or female, did you have, who comes to mind when I say, who was that one role model you go, you know what, I want to be like that person? Who was that?
Yeah, that is so easy for me. Well, let me just say that I really did come up in a man's
Mhm.
world, and it was really difficult for me at the time. I was young, I was single, and I had so many male mentors who opened doors for me, who were
I got
willing to
Meredith,
help me.
I want to interrupt you because I got to
Yeah.
ask this, because nobody will ask it, but I'm going to ask it
Okay.
because it's Outbound After Dark. Was it tougher because you're a very attractive lady, right? And did that make it harder for you coming up?
Yeah, what a great question. I would say that no. And I would actually think that made it easier for me. And let me say
Mhm.
why. But all the men who reached out to help me were trying to tell me how to do it, how they did it.
Mhm.
And being a young single female, I couldn't take some of the avenues they had. I couldn't call men and ask them who were married and say, "Would you
Mhm.
go have a beer with me?"
Right.
Because their wives didn't like that. They
Mhm.
felt uncomfortable. They
Sure.
didn't know what to do with
Sure.
me. And but this woman, I will never forget when you say a role model.
Mm.
I also had kind of a background I was embarrassed of. I'm raised in a very alcoholic home, and my first husband, who ultimately died of alcoholism, was very sick at the time, and I was kind of ashamed and embarrassed. And I sort of thought, well, I can't achieve things because I have these obstacles in front of
Mm.
me. And in walked Linda Burwell. I will never
Oh,
forget
you
her.
have your own Linda. Oh,
Oh
good.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
You have your own Linda. We have
Um,
too many things in common, Meredith. We have too many things in common. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't
so
interrupt.
so Linda had been recruited into our company because she had done something nobody had ever done. She had taken an education department and turned it into a revenue stream rather than an expense. And so when she got hired into the company, it was like big deal. All the execs were at her feet. And my boss, who was a wonderful man, said, unbeknownst to me, I think Meredith has great potential. I need her to have a female role model, and we don't have many in this company. I
Mm.
will never forget the day that Linda Burwell walked into my office. Here she was, this massive exec, and I was
Mm.
nobody. But Linda Burwell was this woman that if you were a female, boy, you wanted to be her. She was
Mm.
confident. She was beautiful. She
Yeah.
was dressed to the nines. And she just sat down, talked to me for a while, and she said, Meredith, I sense something about you. I think there's something holding you back. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to tell you my life story. And she opened her, kimono
Mhm.
or whatever, and told me every screwed up thing that was in her life. She had alcoholic father. She had a first husband who moved her into a trailer. She barely got out of college, and the list went on. And it was in that moment that I realized if she could do it,
Mm.
I could do it. So she not only opened the door to make me believe I could achieve, but at that point, I was no longer ashamed of my life. And I vowed that any woman who came behind me or young man, I was going to open the kimono and say, look,
Mm.
you couldn't have more checks in your box than I do.
Mhm.
So the only thing holding you back is your own belief system. It was
Yeah.
just, sorry, that was long-winded, but
No, no,
it
that
was
wasn't.
just,
That was perfect.
she made such a profound impact on me.
Yeah, by the way, that was not long-winded at all. It was actually quite enjoyable to hear that because it's there's whether it's male or female or in general, I like to say, when people speak, when they present themselves, I'm imagining this Linda of yours, right?
Yes.
Is that when they speak and they present, it's like they transcend gender.
Yes.
That's the magic, I think, that there's something that just transcends gender that you go, oh, you're not seeing them, male or female, right? And I've discovered
Right.
that years ago that language helps you transcend. And so, but who was the gentleman that recommended, who I thought had, I guess, the awareness to say she needs a female robot? Who was that person?
Yeah. So, you know what? It was just my birthday just this past week, and he texted me on my
Mm,
birthday. We still keep in touch. It was a man by the name of Jeff Ward,
mm,
and he hired me because I was a female. He had an all male leadership
mhm,
team, and he hired me because I was female, and I could talk for hours
mhm,
about the breaks he gave me and the
mm.
doors he opened for
Yeah.
me.
By the way, I would argue with you a little bit. He didn't
Yeah.
hire you because you were female. You
Yeah.
happened to be female, and he saw potential in you because there were a lot of females everywhere.
I agree, but I've never run away from that. I mean, I
Yeah.
looked at when some of the guys who had a problem with the fact that I had been hired said to me, "You were hired because you were female." My response was, "Yeah, you need one. Like, look around. You don't look like
See,
your
that's
customer base."
I love that. See, when we're talking sales about lean into the objection, just
Yeah.
lean into that thing. Yeah. And what's your point? You need
Yeah.
one. It's like, what's your point? I had a very similar experience. My family's from Puerto Rico. I think we talked about this. My family's
Yes.
from Puerto
Yeah.
Rico. And so I remember somebody said that in so many words to me, because you're Hispanic, right? That's the only reason you got the job. And my statement was, and
Yeah.
like, what's your point? It's not my fault. It's so, but the thing is, you and I both know that may have gotten you in, but it doesn't keep you.
Right.
You got to
No.
earn that slot. And so when you look at selling today as a profession, because I think it's the coolest profession, because
I do
if
too.
you find the right product or service that you want to sell, and you get a good compensation thing going, a plan, if you're working for somebody or you're working for yourself, it's a beautiful profession. What has it done for you to be in sales? What has it done for you?
It has everything. One, it's built my confidence.
Mm,
Two, I would say it has put me in charge of my own life. What I love about sales is the fact that even when I worked in corporate, I was flexible. I could work when I wanted. I could make what I wanted to make. I was in control of what was happening to me. It filled the fact that I really feel that I've made a huge difference
mm,
in so many of my customers' lives. I was making a massive impact.
right.
But I would say more than anything, I felt like sales has given me control. I mean, even today, I could find another product. I could always get a job. I can go and learn about and sell anything. I also think it's one of the most interesting jobs you
Mhm,
ever have, because our job is to go out and learn about businesses and then figure out how we can help them.
mhm.
And people's stories are fascinating.
But
So,
I want to go back to the because you say it so lightly, but it's a really heavy word in this context, and that is the word control. And because
yeah.
if we break that apart, and will you tell me what control means, and then, because we're lining up nicely, I think we both agree. But what does control mean?
For me, it meant that I learned early on I could not be locked in 8 to 5, and I
Mm,
learned early on I couldn't sit behind a desk.
yeah.
And what sales gave me was, as long as I produced my numbers, nobody cared where I was or
Mhm,
what I was doing. That was the first level of
yeah.
control.
Let's
The
call that
second
freedom. Let's call that freedom.
Completely. The
Yeah.
second level of control was I smelled opportunity in the company I was in, and there was potential. And it was no longer political, the potential. It was performance, the potential. Now,
Well
all I
said.
had to
By the way,
do,
I'm
yeah.
stopping to celebrate that one. Well said. It's performance, not political. It's performance. I love that. I'm
And
sorry. Keep going.
so, well, I realized that,
You're getting me
you
all
know,
jazzed up here. Sorry, you're getting me all jazzed up here.
people would throw around ideas,
Yeah.
and I would have an idea, and people would sort of say, well, that idea wouldn't work. Well, I don't care. I'm just going to go out and prove to you that it will work. And the moment I produced the numbers, my voice got so loud. It got so loud that by the age of 36, I was writing sales strategy for the entire organization. Nobody could believe the chairman gave me the job, but he gave me the job because I outproduced everybody else. So every obstacle that people worry about, who cares that I was a
Love it.
female?
I
Who
love it. By the way,
cares that I was young?
I'm
Who
gonna have
cares
that-
that I had no experience?
I'm not going to forget that performance, not political. That to me is
Yeah.
like, but it's such a big message, right? Because sometimes we can't, there are barriers. Come on, let's acknowledge some
Yes.
realities here. There are some glass ceilings out there. There are some jerks out there who are not going to let you move up in a company, right? There are those people and those systems, right?
Absolutely.
These are systems of constraint. But when you perform, as you've already said, control means freedom. Come whenever I go. Come and go as I please. Two, it's performance. That's all they measure. Because companies need to stay in business.
That's right.
But I want to throw a third one at you before we sign off, because nobody wants to talk about this, but I love talking about this. Talk to me about money. What sales
Oh.
and money does for you. I love
Yeah.
talking money.
Well, that's really the third stool of control, right? Is that I could make as much money as I needed to make. So I told you my first husband was an alcoholic, and pretty quick into our marriage, he was unable to work. He was really, really sick for 10 years. Well, we had a house to take care of. We had 2 cars to take care of. I had commitments. I had things I needed to keep up. There was nothing else I could have done other than sales to cover what went from a 2 salary home to a 1 salary home. And once I figured that out, I could care for my husband who wasn't well. I needed to be in and out of the hospital a lot with him. My boss was the only person who knew, but I could still produce and make the money to keep a lifestyle going. Which understanding, once he passed away, it wasn't like I had to go backwards at that point. I still rolled into my 401k. I was still able to pay my bills because I could decide how much money I needed and wanted to make. I love that about sales. If I wanted to take the next 6 months off, I could take it off, but I could also decide that come back 6 months from now and make a lot of money. It is especially for women, I always say, get into this profession, because if you perform, nobody cares about anything else. Because the most control you have to take care of your family, to do the other things you want to do.
Meridith, it's a beautiful message. That's all. Meridith, I want to thank you for your time. Real quick, you're speaking at Outbound on what day? I guess we can't tell the schedule, so I won't get in trouble there. Where can they find out more about you?
They can find out more about me at my website, valuespeaker.com, just the words valuespeaker.com. I'm a big believer, if you build your network, it changes your life. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I promise you I'll connect with you.
Meridith Elliot Powell, valuespeaker.com. You'll see her at Outbound. Thank you, Meridith. Appreciate your time.
Cheers. See you soon, Victor.
Salud. Bye-bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that conversation. I think the whole performance over political, I think, is big. I mean, that right there resonates. I'd never heard anybody phrase it like that. That's the first time I've ever heard that phrase. I want to bring a gentleman who I recently met. He had me on his podcast. He had such a great conversation. He has such a beautiful voice, too, when he speaks. Jeff Bajorek will be joining us now at Outbound After Dark. Let's see if we can get him in here. Chris, can we get Jeff in here? There he is, man. It's not a dad bod shirt. I love it.
It's not a dad bod. It's a father figure.
It's a father
Victor.
figure.
It's not a dad bod. It's a father figure.
He's so clever, man. Do you have a beverage with you? Do you have a beverage with you? What you got?
Do I have a beverage?
What
I've got. This is. I'm going to tell you something. This is a special occasion bourbon. This is the last pour of a bottle of an 18-year bourbon that my wife bought for me 2 Christmases ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was saving it for a special occasion. I couldn't think of the special occasion. And then you invited me to do this, and it's kicking off Outbound Week that I'm seriously excited about being a part of. And I closed a nice deal on Friday. And so just putting all of that together, and to tell you, it was such a nice deal, Victor, that actually my customer
Mhm.
posted on Instagram that he was excited about the partnership. So when it's a good enough deal that your client, your new client says, here's to the weekend, got a nice, partnership that we sealed today.
Mhm.
This was worthy of the last pour of
The last
my
pour.
my
By the way,
18
that's nice.
my 18 year.
By the way, congratulations on the deal, man. I
Thank
love
you.
it. And the fact that the client is bragging about it, I mean, that true testament to your ability to sell. By the way, why did your wife buy that for you 2 years ago?
She knows I'm a bourbon guy.
Mhm.
So it was just it's
Where'd that
funny
come
listening to
Where'd that come from, the bourbon thing? I mean, where'd that come from?
a manager actually that the one of the actually the last guy that I worked for.
Hmm.
I always just kind of had an interest, but never really indulged it. And he was a bourbon guy, so whenever he came in, he's like, "Hey, let's do our QBR. Let's go to the restaurant and we'll have a drink." And so he kind of showed me around a little bit and indulged the um, indulged the interest and the curiosity in it. But no,
By the
I
way,
just
what's a QBR? What's a QBR? I like when people throw out acronyms we don't understand. What's a QBR?
oh, quarterly business review.
Oh, quarterly QBR. Okay, I've never heard that. Man, quarterly business review.
I'm
Bourbon
I'm
quarterly
usually late with the acronyms too, so
man,
I'm
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So she got you. So,
sit a little straighter now.
yeah. What's the name of the bourbon again?
This is an Elijah Craig 18.
Elijah Craig 18. What year?
Yes,
18? 2018
it,
or
it oh gosh, it was
just curious.
bottled.
I'm just asking, man. Not
It's
really important.
probably on the. I'll tell you what. When I see you on Tuesday, I will tell you because it's
All right.
written on the bottle.
All right.
But no, it was probably barreled in 2019, maybe 2018. So this was made right around the turn of the century. How about that?
That's impressive. And the last pour for a great deal at Outbound After Dark, man.
Mhm.
Would you surprised to get my email says, "Hey Jeff, I'd like to have you on the first episode." Would you kind of surprised about that?
Yes,
Why? Just out of
because
curiosity.
I'm just a dude wearing a t-shirt on a Sunday afternoon. Cut my lawn earlier, like
Yeah.
just you know what I mean. Like
Dude,
it's
you cut your lawn. I cut my lawn
I
also.
do, I
People
do,
always
and I
By the way, do you get this? Because I get this often, Jeff. I was like, dude, why don't you hire somebody? Can't you afford to hire somebody? I'm like, yeah, I can afford to hire it. But there's an insanity to hiring people to do that. I don't know if you thought about this, but if you hire somebody to wash your car and you hire somebody to do your lawn and then you have a gym membership, it makes no sense. You can cancel the gym membership, just do the other two activities. That's what I always thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I think my reason. I completely agree with your logic. My reasoning is a little bit differently. I'm a little bit detail oriented, and my neighbors have lawn services, and I don't like the job they do.
Mm,
And so I have neighbors who have other services cut their lawns, and I'm like, I would not be proud of that lawn. And there's something about, I don't know if it's where I came from. I don't. My neighbor across the street, he cuts his own lawn too, and we kind of we critique each other, right? And his lawn, he's
yeah, yeah.
killing me right now. There's I think for me it's more about the pride.
Are you telling me you're type A?
A little bit,
Okay.
maybe.
A little
But
bit, a little bit. Come on,
this is my
by the way, it's
home.
up on After Dark. It's okay to confess these things, man. I
It,
mean,
it's I resemble that remark. Let's
okay.
just say that. The but the thing is, this is my
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
I wanted, the guys are always judged about the way the outside of the home looks, and the
Mhm.
women tend to always be judged about the way the inside of the home looks.
Mhm.
And my wife and I share the responsibilities, but I love taking care of the lawn. I've been doing it. It was like the first job I ever had, and my kids are almost old enough to be able to handle it now. As soon as my daughter can pull the ripcord on
Yeah.
and start the lawnmower, she's got the job. But like, there's something about the detail oriented nature of doing that, making sure that you get it right. And this is my home. I'm proud of it.
Gotcha,
Here's
man.
the other thing.
Hey, I got
It's
a question for you. So
yeah,
do you think this type A of yours, I'm just gonna say you're type A. Yeah, you're in denial, but that's okay. Just messing with you. But do you think this attention to detail though, translates into your business? Do you see that?
100%,
Yeah. So
100%.
follow-up question to that.
Mhm.
I want you to tell me about a time because I can ask you the question. Tell me about a time when being detailed helped you close a deal. Those are easy ones, right? But tell
Oh,
me about a time when being detailed lost a deal for
ooh,
you. Yeah.
oh, you threw me a curveball, Victor. I played a lot of
Only
baseball
on
growing
After
up.
After
Fortunately,
Dark will you get a curveball. Only on After Dark will you get a curveball. I'll give you time to think right now.
I played a lot of baseball though, Victor, and I can hit
Yeah.
a curveball.
Okay.
So
You're missing this one.
Sometimes
Big
if you can, sometimes if you're too detail oriented and you get hung up in the minutia of things, you miss the big stuff going by. Like the first thing that comes to mind is timing.
Right.
Right. And just trying to pay too close attention to the little things and missing the big stuff passing by, missing the bigger motives. Right. I think a lot about, okay, this is what the engagement is going to look like. Right. And I sell training and coaching and consulting. Right. So if I get a little too fine tuned with, okay, I want the first session to go like this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss the bigger point and you miss doing a little bit more discovery because you're getting ahead of yourself. And I think it's good to think positively about the future. And this is what the deal would look like if we got there. And that I think that visualization is necessary. But if you get too caught up in the minutia, it can impact your success. I was a bit of an overthinker on the baseball field. I tend to be, I'm not as much anymore, but a bit of an overthinker on the golf course too. And sometimes you think about too many things and you can't do anything.
I guess that's kind of where I was leading you down that path. And that is because I know if you get it perfect, if you're a perfectionist, you're going to get it right when you want to get it right. But sometimes we try to be too perfect. And in trying to be too perfect, we miss out on opportunities. Like, I would not consider myself a type A. I'm that 80%er guy. If it's 80% there, I'm ready to launch. I'm that guy. And it's helped. And there's times when it's hurt me, but it's helped me the majority of the time. Right. And that's why I wanted from your perspective and I asked you that question because, are there things that you kind of look back and you go, you know what, my perfection or my need for perfection stopped me from actually doing it.
What's interesting is this translates and I'm getting there, right? I've worked really hard on that because I'm recognizing that sometimes just this over analytics or over analyzing of the details can get in my way. But
I'm so going to charge you for this therapy session.
Send me the invoice. I'll pay it in person on Tuesday. But it's the same as my swing thought. When I feel like I'm just too wound up over the golf ball, my swing thought will be an athlete. Yeah. Don't try to steer the golf shot. Just swing the golf club. When I was pitching in baseball, it was don't try to aim the pitch, throw the ball. And the common denominator there, Victor, is belief. I can lay off those minute details because I know I'm pretty good at this. And I don't have to worry about so many of these other things because I know that me just naturally showing up, I've proven to myself over time that I can do this. I feel a lot more comfortable just walking into a room and doing what I do, right? I think about 2 years ago, you blew the entire audience away with you pulling out a flip chart and foregoing the whole PowerPoint thing. And I said, man, that is swagger right there. That is really cool. I want a little bit more of that. And you inspired me in that moment, as you have since, but just I'm ready to walk in. And one of the compliments I get now from my clients after I do engagements with them, because they're very free flowing. I'll show up and like, okay, I have stuff to talk about right now and we're going to get to it. But right now I need to meet you where you are. So what's going on? And I'll have 30 or 40 people in a room just kind of firing at me and I'm ready. And I'm confident enough to be ready.
So Jeff, go back. I mean, so you said you had a lot of different jobs when you were younger, right? A lot of different jobs when you were younger. Take me back to some of the original jobs like you had when you were a young guy. And because all that, the reason I'm asking that, because that's all formation, right? That's where you form your character and all that stuff. Take me back to some of the gigs and, what you learned from the gigs, when you were a kid, you know what I mean?
So I cut lawns, right? Before I was old enough to formally work and, get a real, W-2 job. I cut lawns in the neighborhood and cut lawns in my grandma's neighborhood and grandpa's neighborhood.
Is that because you wanted to cut lawns, or your parents said, hey, go cut lawns, we need money? What was the deal?
Oh, I wanted to. There was, I was a teenager and I wanted money and I could do it and I was good at it, right? Because that detail orientation, I was good at it and it was important to me. I take pride in everything I do.
Right.
So I did a good job.
Why did you want the money though? Why did you want the money? Why was that so important at the time?
I just wanted to do stuff. I don't recall any singular thing. Like I wasn't trying to put money away for college. Like I wanted money in my pocket to be able to do stuff with my friends, just silly 13, 14-year-old stuff. I saw clothes that I wanted to buy, or whatever. And I grew up in a place where we didn't have a whole lot that we wanted, but we had everything we needed, right? So didn't come from this impoverished background, but if I wanted anything extra,
Yeah.
go get it. Go,
I had a
Jeff,
thing.
go make some money.
The reason I'm asking, I'm not trying to like, mess with you. I think the reason I'm asking that is because I had this thing where I didn't like asking people for money. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have a lot, but I still didn't like asking people money. So I was always trying to figure out, how can I put a couple extra nickels and quarters in my pocket, literally, and that's why I asked you the question. Is that because was that the drive? Just, you hate asking people for money, hate being dependent on other people. I think, because I think that drives a lot of salespeople.
It did. And I can tell you when I was in college too, given my studies and the out of the classroom stuff I needed to do for my degree, I remember I had a job working at Target in the back room, and I worked one shift a week. And I remember having this conversation with my dad. I came home and I said, all right, I got to go back early this weekend. I got to, got to get to work tomorrow. And I remember we had this exchange and I said, Dad, the only reason that I have this job, which paid $8 an hour for 8 hours or something, and then after taxes, everything else, it wasn't a whole lot of money. I said, but if I'm going to ask you for money, I better be sure that I'm doing everything I can to earn the money that I need myself.
There you go.
And so I don't know if it's humility. I don't know if it's just, I've always had a very strong sense of personal responsibility.
It's called pride. And by the way, that means you respected your father's money or your parents' money. You know what I mean?
Very much.
You respected their money. When you look at the world of selling today, Meridith was on before you. I asked her this question. What does that mean to you? You look at the profession of selling, like what has it done for you?
I see the world completely differently.
How so?
Like there is a realm of possibility that was not available to me prior to this, right? I think about selling and I really approach selling the way I approach relationships in general. Why would you ask anybody for anything that you haven't earned? Why wouldn't there be something in it for them if there's going to be something in it for you? I think if we all treated each other like our best customers, we'd get along a lot better. We'd listen a lot more. We'd have more empathy. We wouldn't always agree. Like, I'm not saying we'd just all be friends, around the campfire all the time. But yeah, that's not what I'm going for. But like when if we just treated everybody like our best customer. And so when you go back and I think about sales as the way you relate to people. It's not something you do to somebody.
But how did you learn that though? I mean, relating to people. How did you learn that? Because there's some people watching this right now or listening to it, and one of their biggest obstacles is literally, Victor, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can communicate. How did you do it?
I struggled until I had a good mentor.
Tell me about the struggle.
And
what do you mean you struggled?
Well, I didn't have any direction, and I had a lot of superstitions that I believed, and I think there's so well. There was I'll start real simply. Like if you just take someone out to lunch and you tell them all about your stuff, then you can just assume an order's coming, right? Like there's a lot of this. It's really it's kind of juvenile behavior when it comes to selling. It's people don't appreciate that there has to be an exchange of value, that you're there with more than just an expense account and a credit card, that you actually have something that you can provide. And I didn't get that direction. I just thought, oh, you got to spend money to make money. So I guess I'm going to buy a lot of food. And then I'm getting credit card bills that weren't being matched by, commission reports. And it was like, maybe I'm just not doing it long enough. And I got really, really fed up and almost quit. And then finally someone joined the organization who could give me a little bit of guidance. On your podcast, we talked about them. We called him Bob, even though we're not allowed to, say his name. And it just, like when I recognized that there was a value that I brought, and when people appreciated me and my company for the value that we brought, it just reframed everything. And
but how did you I guess I'm trying to get to something here. Because I've seen your skill sets. You're just an amazing salesperson. So I'm pushing that to the side. But what I'm trying to get to is that, when you were struggling, like how do you change that? You know what I mean? How did you overcome that? Like, when you were struggling to kind of be a better salesperson.
I actually started paying attention to my intuition. And I've always felt that there's a way you treat people.
Right.
And I was never comfortable with the superstitions that I believed getting into the sales role. And I was convinced by the guy that hired me that, no, Jeff, you're going to be good. We'll show you the way. And then I didn't quite get the guidance that I thought until
Right.
much later. But there were these superstitions that I had that didn't feel right. But then when I had a guide, when I had a mentor, someone who could work with me and say, no, just do it this way. And then something clicked. I was like, oh, that's the way I thought it should be done. Okay, what if I pay attention to the way I feel you need to treat people, right? People that wouldn't buy from me and that I knew they'd never buy from me because they had a really good reason to buy from someone else instead of me. It's like, okay, fair game. I felt like I didn't have permission to move on to the next one.
I love
right?
the fact that I think you're hitting on something I think it's important is that you have to be honest with yourself. Do you know what I mean? And you have to sell your way. And I guess that's what I wanted from you. You know what I mean? It's like, so, closing out, I got Jeb in the back room and I want to bring him on the last couple of minutes. If you had to give somebody advice now who was watching you, you know what I mean? On like overcoming sales, becoming better at sales, what would you say to them? You got, it doesn't even have to be a young person. You just got a person who's struggling in sales right now. Give me the 1 to 2 minute Jeff Bajorek. Okay, here's what you need to do. That's
I'm telling people now. I've actually just wrote a bunch of thank you notes to some people who came to a workshop of mine, and the consistent theme was stay curious. There's not a single way that this needs to be done. There's not this formula that you can just put down on paper and then follow it. Like you really have to marry your own style, your own intuition, your own beliefs, and that's what people like Larry Levine would call authenticity, right? Like you bring something special to this profession and your unique way of interacting with people and solving problems and providing value to the people who really need you to do that for them. That is unique. That is the most valuable thing that you have. And I say this, at the end of my my prospecting book. I tell people to say this in the mirror every morning while you're brushing your teeth. It's you're the best in the world at what you do, and the really scary part is you're only half as good as you're going to be.
There you go.
And you say that a couple of times, you smile. You say it 10 times, you get a little fire in your belly. You say it 100 times in a row, and you're ready to run through a brick wall to help people, to solve their problems the way only you can. That's what you need to do. You need to double down on you.
You double down on you. I also like what you said, the double down on you. I love that phrase, by the way. But I love what you said about you have to marry yourself, kind of what you're saying, yourself, who you are to that product or service. And then I like to double down on who you are, man. I love that. Jeff, man, thank you for taking time on a Sunday, man, to join us here on Outbound After Dark, man. We're going to see you next week.
Oh, can't wait. Can't wait to shake your hand.
All right, man. We'll see you then. Take care, brother.
See you, Victor.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. All right. In the back, I didn't know if he was going to make it. He was driving down from Thompson, Georgia. My man, Jeb Blount, got him in the back. Should I bring him on? Should I not bring him on? I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I bring Jeb Blount on? Yeah, I mean, he drove all the way down from Thompson to Atlanta. Let's bring him on. Let's see what Jeb has to say. There he is.
What's up, Victor?
You made it well there.
Yeah, man. Live from the presidential suite. Check this out right behind me.
I think you're freezing a little bit.
Outbound.
Wait, no, do it again. You froze one more time. I want to see it again. You froze a little bit.
One more time. Slow. Look at that.
Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
Oh, I
So
hope
we'll be
Victor
right
Antonio
over there,
has
so starting on Tuesday for the conference.
Yeah, man. Super excited about it. Hey, by the way, do you have a drink with you?
I don't. I just got out of my car. I mean, I was drinking on the way here.
No, you weren't drinking on the way here. You were drinking water on the way here.
I was having a Diet Dr. Pepper. No, I just got in. And I wanted to hop on, and I'm even like I'm plugged into my Wi-Fi device, my MiFi device. No, I do want to say hello to Angela. I think she's in the embassy suite. She was looking for you. She was sending me a note on the Outbound app. So Angela
Duckworth, I think is her name. Yeah.
I
look forward to meeting her.
So Angela's going to be. We'll be live from the VIP reception on Tuesday from Embassy Suites, and then we'll be over on the big stage after dark with a bar, where it'll be nice. So.
Yeah. So Jeb, you were driving, so you didn't hear the intro. In the intro, I said I was doing this thing called Sales After Dark, and then the crazy man Jeb, literally something like that to that effect, said, "Hey, how about this? This Outbound After Dark?" To which I said, "Sure." And I said, I recall that our initial conversation was only going to be like 2 or 3 days, right? And then, but knowing Jeb Blount, you stretched it out to a full 5 days so we could do it all the way through. I said, no, Victor, you can do it from your studio at home. And I think it's a brilliant idea. What did you want from Outbound After Dark? I mean, what was the thought in your head?
I just thought it would be a great way to recap the day. I mean, you're such a smooth guy, and I like the you did Sales After Dark during the entire pandemic, like a marathon. I mean, at the end of it, like, because everybody needs to know this, at the end of it, Victor calls me up and goes, "I don't think I can take it anymore, but I've committed myself to 100 episodes, so I'm going to keep going." And that's a true champion, right? So when you just like when you hit the wall, like, I'm going all the way.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was a great program that you had, and I thought let's build on that. Let's create a cap at the end of every single day. It's a good way to wrap it up. I like the style that you brought to it. Let's keep it easy. Let's take our time with it. Have a nice conversation. Don't dress up. And I'm excited to see what happens at the conference center when we're on stage and it's the end of the day and we got a cash bar in the back and we have microphones in the audience. So
yeah. I haven't told them that part yet. I haven't told them that part yet.
So I've hung out at a lot of bars with a lot of salespeople, and it's hard for me to imagine, several hundred people in a room with microphones and liquor, and a live stream. So I just don't know what's going to happen, and cameras.
Yeah. So from Tuesday, Wednesday, and I believe Thursday. So we're going to be live with Sales After Dark. Tuesday, we're going to be at Ruth Chris for the VIP, and then the next 2 days we're going to be on the main stage. That'll be really.
But on Friday we're going to be in the fishbowl. So
fishbowl. Oh, by the way, I need to see this fishbowl. By the way, I caught several of the presentations. I caught yours. I caught the one. I forgot her name already. It was on time management. It was actually pretty good. It was a nice follow to yours. The one. By the way, I was really happy that you brought Stu on. How to get a meeting with anybody. I really enjoyed his presentation, man. He has a lot of great content.
I'm going to walk inside because we got traffic out here, and I want to hear you.
Okay, take your time. Take your time. We get to see what the VIP presidential suite looks like inside.
It's dark right now because there's no lights on.
Yeah. By the way, it's a nice room because it actually has like I don't know, are those Roman columns?
There's columns.
Do they have like a tiger on the floor? Rug, the whole bit. Yeah,
there's a box over there that might have liquor in it. I just hadn't checked it yet.
Hey, so Jeb, one of the things I want to get from folks here on the Outbound After Dark is, we know you're great at sales. We know in the book success you have. I know all that stuff, but one thing I think a lot of people don't know that kind of shocked me. So this is an exclusive, Victor Antonio exclusive, is that, you were wearing these tight pants. Now, see, if I would just say that, people are like, where's he going with this? So and I go, he's like, where's he going? And so I go, why is he wearing tight pants like that? And so you are an equestrian.
That's true.
So tell the folks, how you got into, riding horses.
I don't ever remember not being on a horse. I mean, I've been on horses since I was a kid. Yeah, my mother and father were equestrians, and I grew up on a farm. And I just took to it. I really only do a couple of things well: sales and horses. Mm-hmm. And if you can, and truly, and understanding how to manage horses is a lot like understanding how to manage a sales conversation. Yeah. But I dig horses. I love. Yeah. I've got 8 of them. I ride as much.
You have 8 horses. 8 horses. Mm-hmm. Like, what's your favorite breed?
I love thoroughbreds. I mean, I think if I had if you have a choice of breed, it would be a thoroughbred. I like Appaloosas as well. Mm-hmm. Appaloosas, I believe I'm saying this right, but the Nez Perce Indians rode Appaloosas, and the legend goes that, by the time they got into battle, they were so mad at their horse, they'd kill anything. So I like Appaloosas because they push you, and same thing with thoroughbreds. With a thoroughbred, so much about riding a thoroughbred is about nuance. It's about understanding that you are on what they would call a hot horse. Mm-hmm. And where people make a mistake is they try to make the horse do what they want it to do. And the way I ride a thoroughbred is just loose. Like we're going to get there. I know we're going to get where we need to go. I'm not worried about that, but I'm not fighting the horse the entire time. I'm going to let the thoroughbred be what the thoroughbred is. Thoroughbreds do what thoroughbreds do. They want to run, and they want to run fast. And anytime they're not running fast, they're not happy. salespeople are kind of like the same way, right? You got
Yeah.
really good salespeople, they want to run fast and they want to close stuff. And when they're idle, when they're not doing those things, when you got them stuck in a meeting and Monday morning, talking about stuff they're bored with, they do bad things. And so will thoroughbred. But I always, say that with a thoroughbred, you can win the battle, you will lose the war. So I don't fight battles with the thoroughbred. I dig them. And I love a horse that just wants to go. Like it never wants to. And when they stretch out,
I would love to see you do a presentation. This is just my personal desire now. I would love to see you do a presentation where you take, instead of using like the disc assessment, forget the disc assessment, you come up with like the Jeb horse breed assessment test to figure out what type of breed each salesperson is and assign them a horse. I would like to see a presentation on that. A cool presentation, right? Because I mean, they're all over the place, right? They're all over the place, man. So Jeb, we got 5 minutes before we wrap up here. Give me some behind the scenes of what's been going on. Don't talk to me about sales. Don't want to hear more about sales right now. Give to me. I want people to appreciate the amount of work you put in, Anthony puts in, and then, but more importantly, your wife and your team put in, right? And give the folks a sense of, what's going on, the number of hours. I mean, I really want people to appreciate you and your team for what you do, man.
I'll give you a good example. I mean, the beautiful thing is we have a team and everybody's working overtime. So we've put in, 4 20-hour days in a row. It's been crazy in the amount of hours. But Trey Lamar, and if you come to the conference, you'll meet Trey. He and I spent 12 hours working on 1 2-minute video just to make it perfect. Right. And we had other things going on at the same time, but that's the kind of dedication. But the amount of work that it takes to put something like this on, it costs almost $1 million to put Outbound on. And that's all self-funded. Like we're not a conference, a company. We're not a big, huge tech company putting on their user conference. We're just a bunch of sales guys that like sales and like people coming to talk about sales. So it just takes an immense amount of work, hours and hours and hours. We didn't do it, but we should take a picture of our office. So our offices are about 2 hours from Atlanta. And the reason we have it in Atlanta is because we're here and it's easier for us to manage it because we're here. You're in Atlanta as well. And you couldn't walk in our office. So you've come to my office. I think when you were there, the boxes were beginning to stack up. But the studios were stacked up. The boxes were stacked up. They spent all day Friday and most of the day Saturday loading trucks just to bring them here. And then they got here this morning and they started unloading this morning. So it's a massive undertaking. The way that I look at it is in this year's like the first time we've ever done virtual. So we're trying to do the same thing on virtual. But the way I look at it is I want it to be an event like nothing you have ever experienced. So when you come in, people are nice to you and it's welcoming and the stage is insane. Like you're walking into a rock show and you know that people have put hours and hours and hours in putting together their production. Like last weekend, Victor, I spent 20 hours building to run a show. That meant that we had to go through every single minute of the show. And it comes down to like, you're done at 2:03, next person's on. So Anthony calls it Cirque du Soleil meets a rock show, meets the sales profession. So the goal is to create this experience that's insane. And this year to create that experience has been nothing less than it's been one of the hardest things that we've ever done. And I'm nervous about it. I don't know that we can do some of the things that we've done in the past just because COVID got in the way. Our managing director, Judith, she walked through the door and joined us. And Anthony said, we handed her a grenade and a couple of wire cutters and said, figure out how to make this thing go. Yeah. So it's been tough, but our ultimate goal is to create an experience that when you go, you walk away and you tell everybody, I've never been in anything like that ever in my life. All I want to do is go back. And we keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. This year, we have the biggest audience we've ever had. A lot of that audience is going to be virtual, but I mean, do you think every year we've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger?
Yeah. Well, I saw the stage, let me see, 3 years ago, then 2 years ago when I was on it. I can only imagine what is based on some of the descriptions you gave me already, what's going to happen, what's going to look like. So I think the audience has something to look forward to, whether you're virtual or live. We wish you were live. It's just always just about 1 degree better. But I think virtual, you'll probably get the same. The impact will be there because the content will be there. Closing out on this note, you brought in more speakers than you had last time. Talk to me about that, and we'll wrap up on that.
Yeah, 41 speakers, the last count. 41.
Wait a minute, 41. Last time I had was 35, so now we're up to 41. Okay.
41. So we're at 41 speakers, last count. And yeah, so the big, and actually 42 because one is not even listed. It's a surprise on Wednesday or Thursday. But I mean, with more speakers, more complexity, I was getting a haircut. My hair's starting to get gray in it from Outbound. It's nuts. And I don't know what kind of crazy people do something like this, but we wanted to put on a bigger conference. And you said this 1 degree better. So every year we get a little bit better, a little bit better. That's one of the things I hear you talk about all the time, Victor, is if you get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, all of a sudden you're 10 times better, you're 100 times better. And that's what we focus on.
Love it, man. On that note, Jeb, salute to you and the team. And I guess we'll see you at Outbound. Take it away, Chris.
Bye.